Talking up Week 10 of college football with Brad Crawford from 247 Sports and also CBS Sports. Please join him right there for his take on college football. You can join me for all the long-form audio conversations with bloggers, broadcasters, and writers like Brad on Stitcher, Podbean, and iTunes. Just search Mark Rogers TV, or you get the individual video segments. Just subscribe right here on YouTube. So the College Football Playoff Selection Committee comes out with its first version of its top 25 selections on Tuesday, I believe, after this weekend's games, Brad. And, of course, we're going to know maybe a whole lot more, maybe not. So Ohio State, Penn State, somewhat of an elimination game, certainly for the Buckeyes. But outside of that, let's say chalk holds. I don't think we're going to learn a whole lot, but we know from college football being what college football is, that if we look at the 18 to 20 games involving top 25 teams, probability is that we see 1 to 3 upsets. Therefore, some things are going to get sorted out. So if you could kind of take us through the landscape and what you expect this first version of the top 25 to look like, and what are some of those key things to look at to see which way the committee might be leaning?
Yeah, as much as fans don't want to hear this, Mark, the first playoff poll does not mean a whole lot. You know, we've gone through this 3 times now at the end of October, and only 5 of 12 teams who have appeared in that top 4 the last 3 years have made the playoff. Bama and Clemson have done it 4 times. I think the other one was Ohio State back in 2014. So, you know, I don't think Tuesday's poll means a whole lot. You know, you're going to see Bama and Georgia in the top 4. You're probably going to see an unbeaten TCU in the top 4, and then that 4th team could be anyone from, you know, Ohio State to Penn State, someone like that. So, one of the things I'm going to look at, though, is where this committee slots teams like an unbeaten USF or an unbeaten UCF. 2 teams out of Florida who are playing very good football on both sides of the ball. And then Miami, too, possibly a 3rd unbeaten from that Sunshine State. So I kind of want to see, you know, where those teams are. Is UCF going to be in the top 10 because they're, you know, very sexy on offense right now? They're going to be outside the top 15. You know, you look at teams in that 10 to 20 range who can really make some noise down the stretch. You know, you want to see where the committee looks at those kind of teams. And then also Clemson. They play Georgia Tech Saturday night, a very good football team coached by Paul Johnson. If the Tigers look good in that ball game, maybe they're in the 5-6 range despite having a loss, because the playoff committee, one of their factors is, you know, you can lose a game if you have a guy who's injured. And you know, Kelly Bryant did not play 2.5 quarters in that game. So Clemson wins out. They're going to be in the playoff, I think, as long as Notre Dame, they went out too. Two one-loss teams that have a very good shot at making that Final Four.
Yeah, Brad, to your first point, this is off the top of my head. I believe we had some configuration of 3 SEC teams in the first initial
Mississippi State,
selection in 2014. We had like Texas A&M, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State was number 1 in the country. Right. They were nowhere to be found. Texas A&M pulled out its typical 8-5 finish. Ole Miss was pretty good, but nowhere near a college football playoff appearance. And Mississippi State lost the Orange Bowl that year. So, yeah, we're going to be far removed from where we stand right now. We think we know things, and we think chalk's going to prevail. But, of course, just remember Syracuse, Clemson, Pitt, Clemson. We could name some other games, Iowa State, Oklahoma this year, of course. I guess the ultimate chaotic situation in terms of a decision process is going to be, let's say, either Washington or Washington State run the table and finish with 1 loss. They're 12-1. Yep. The Big 12 champion is 12-1. The Big 10 champions 12-1. On down the line, Clemson or Miami emerge at 12-1. Alabama goes undefeated, barely beats Georgia, who is 12-1, and Notre Dame runs the table, and they only have 1 loss. Of course, we're going to see more upsets than that, but I guess that would be the ultimate gridlock situation with 1-loss champions all over the place. Alabama, Georgia showing that they're probably 2 of the top 4, and Notre Dame playing as a wild card as well.
I mean, if Alabama and Georgia go into SC Champion Weekend, you know, both unbeaten, ranked 1-2, it's going to be hard to keep Georgia out if they lose a 31-24 classic against the Crimson Tide. You know, you're going to have the, argument, how much does a conference championship weigh against a one-loss team that hasn't won a conference title? right now, Georgia, outside of Oklahoma's win at Ohio State, Georgia has the single best win in college football this season, winning on the road at night at Notre Dame, as long as Notre Dame wins out. If I'm a Georgia fan, I'm probably rooting for Notre Dame up until that Stanford game. Then I'm pulling for Bryce Love to have a big night there. But I do think the SEC, as far as one conference getting two teams in, they got the best opportunity.
Wisconsin's an interesting situation because
they haven't played a single top 50 team yet.
They're in Iowa. They're the Iowa from 2015.
Right.
So let's say they go undefeated. Wisconsin goes undefeated. If they lose the Big Ten championship, even if they look good, they're gone. You would think that they're done. But let's say they lose a game to Minnesota or somebody like that. Because I've got to think that if Wisconsin runs the table, despite its weak schedule, if they beat Penn State or Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, they're undefeated. They're going to be there. Right. But if they lose a game, then they win the Big Ten championship. Can you imagine the committee leaving out a one-loss Big Ten champion that just beat Ohio State or Penn State?
That's going to probably happen too. I mean, you look at Wisconsin's. The committee is supposed to judge teams, from week 1 to week 14. The full body of work is the phrase they always use in November. So you look at Wisconsin's full body of work, and it's just not there. You lose to a 5-7 type PJ Fleck Minnesota team, and you can kiss those hopes goodbye. I don't care what they do in Indy against a good team. Wisconsin's not going to make the playoff unless they finish undefeated with a Big Ten championship.
Good stuff from Brad Crawford, 247 Sports, also CBS Sports. And maybe we'll add this on if we can catch you next week, Brad, to look at the college football playoff selections for week number 1. As you mentioned, they don't mean a whole lot, but it's certainly fun. And we learn a little bit more each and every week. And some weeks we will learn a lot and that's going to come to fruition even more these final 4 weeks of the season. Brad, we appreciate the time. It's always a good discussion.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.